Hello everyone, nubkeks here. Welcome back to Nub Raids. As always here on the channel, just top quality presentation. Really good graphic design stuff happening right here. What we're going to be doing is looking at every single Void Legendary. All of them. And you can also see at a quick glance, if you're curious, which ones I actually own. Just clip these out of my game. And we're going to rate these from S tier all the way down to D tier. So S tier being the Void Legendaries that you build as soon as you get them. They are game changing. And then D tier, the Void Legendaries that you probably stick in your vault and kind of forget about and never feel bad about doing so. So we've got the whole gamut of different quality legendaries here. We're going to go through it alphabetically. So without any further ado, let's go. Let's do this. First up then, we have Angar. Where is Angar? So Angar, he is providing you with a whole lot of provokes. Now, he's not very good. Unfortunately, Angar is not very good. I have been getting comments from people, and I will check it out at some point. Obviously, as you can see, I don't have him. That Angar might be pretty decent for Hydra. So we will see. But he kind of he does some decent provokes. He's tanky. That's about it. So he's in C tier. You probably would build him, but you don't need to rush to build him. He's not going to do that much for you. Arbiter then, well, really no surprise, one of the best in the game. I am actually going to put her in A tier, though she could arguably be up in the S tier. I'm going to put her in A tier for now. Maybe it's a bit of taking her for granted, seeing as everyone gets her relatively early on in your raid career, the first major reward for the missions in the game. But she's obviously incredible for Arena. Still pretty good as well for some Hydra and Dungeon and Doom Tower stuff, especially if you build her for that. But most people typically build her for Arena, and she's not super useful elsewhere, but she's not bad. Not bad at all. Next up, we've got Baron. Baron, there he is. Baron, I actually do have Baron, and Baron is our first, yes, the first D tier champion here. You could pull Baron, never build him, and not really mind. He's just really out of date, super dated. His Sky Piercer move is really cool. His animations are terrible, mind you, but it's a secret move. It's really awkward to unlock it. You can do some meme stuff with him in the arena with insanely good gear, but it's not really worth it. So yeah, unfortunately, Baron just kind of sucks. Next up, we've got Bellinor, and this one is tricky. This is a very tricky one to rate. I would say, I think considering everything, I would overall put him in the C tier. Now, it depends. Bellinor is really good for one thing and only one thing, which is a Bat Eater team for Clan Boss, right? He's incredible for an unkillable team for Clan Boss when you are first building it, or if you're rebuilding it, you're struggling for gear because he gives so much crit rate through his aura and through I think it's his A1, gives a ton of crit rate to your team, which lets you build your unkillable Clan Boss team with much less gear than you otherwise would. And that makes him really good for that, actually. But if you don't need him for that, if you don't have the right champs to go with him, if you already have a champion to do this, then he's basically completely useless. So it's tough. Like, if you don't have if you need him for your Bat Eater and he's going to help you there, he could be S tier. But if you're not in that one exact situation, then he's pretty much D tier. So I'm going to put him in C overall. Blind Seer is up next, and Blind Seer unfortunately goes straight into the D tier. I did a video on Raka. We will get to Raka as well. Raka Viletide, the newest Void Legendary in the game. And when I was looking at Raka, I was kind of thinking, is she Duchess 2.0? And a really interesting comment actually said that no, she's Blind Seer 2.0. And I thought it was quite shocking when you look at it, that Raka basically is Blind Seer 2.0, but just way better in every single way, pretty much. She's just a million times better than Blind Seer. It's actually kind of sad. I don't know. I actually feel it's kind of weird that they released Raka when Blind Seer was there. I'd kind of like to see Blind Seer maybe get a bit of a rework, something to make her more relevant, because she's just a worse version of an existing Void Legendary, which should never really be the case. Next up, we've got Cardial. Cardial is going to be my first choice for the S tier. I think Cardial is incredible. He puts out an absolute crazy amount of healing. He brings the best ally attack in the game. He even has a combo with Sissia, who's really strong herself. But Cardial is not only insanely good for Arena, for top-end Arena, as your cleanser, keeping your team alive, protecting your team. He is also insanely good for Hydra as well. people really underestimate just how much healing he brings, and then he brings way more damage than any of the other healers through the ally attack, through joining in on attacks and all the rest. So Cardiel actually for me has really jumped up the ranks. I think before I probably would have left him at A tier, but considering how good he is for Hydra, he for me goes into the S tier. This one was tricky for me to rate Chigurh. Now, I don't really like Chigurh, but I've seen a lot of comments from people that do like Chigurh. I'm going to put him in the B tier. I think that's probably the fairest place for him overall. He just brings really good wave control, right? Because he puts out an AoE poison, and then he attacks that person whenever they take a turn. If they take a turn and he has poisoned them, he gets to A1 them for free. And his A1 has like a 75%, I think it is, chance to sleep that target. So they fall asleep after the poison has ticked, but before they get to move. So it effectively makes them miss their turn. It's incredibly powerful at wave control. So I think for any sort of wave control content, Chigurh is really good. Outside of that, though, I don't think he's that good. So I'm putting him in the B tier. He has some use, but no crazy uses. Krutraxa is up next. I think Krutraxa goes in the C tier. Alongside these other champions. She's not bad. She hits really hard single target. Her passive sucks. I think that definitely needs a rework. I think a cool thing to do with her might be to give her like a shield equal to 50% of the damage that she deals with like a 3-turn duration or something. I don't know. Something like that, or like a refillable shield would be pretty cool and fit her theme, you know, Protoss style. That'd be nice, but as it is, she's got this weird revive on death passive that's just not very good. Can even be a detriment sometimes. She hits really hard. The reason I'm putting her in C tier and not in D tier, because she does get the double turn, a guaranteed double turn. She's an extra turn on her A2. That's makes her actually somewhat useful for Arena, right? She can come in and she can kill 2 champions. It's very rare, but situationally she can be okay. And then more so, she's also actually very good in some legit teams for speedrunning Fire Knight stage 25. So she's very, very good in those teams because she brings an A1, a quadruple hit A1. She's the A2, which is single hit but gives an extra turn. That's 5 hits on the turn when she does her A2. So she really does rip through that Fire Knight shield and does a lot of damage to the Fire Knight boss. So she's actually part of some speed teams there. I think she's only C. Maybe she should be B tier, but I'm going to leave her in C. Jinro the Stork, I think he is the final reward as of now from Doom Tower Hard. Jinro the Stork, I think he's probably going to be D tier. I don't know. I've got a little bit of faith in Jinro to maybe pull it back, maybe do something interesting, but I just think that by the time that you get this guy, he's going to be a champion you build for fun. He's not going to do anything useful for you. You could stick him in your vault and not really mind. It's so far into the game when you get him. Maybe they'll switch that up in the future and we can see. We haven't play tested him yet, but I don't have super high hopes. I think he's going to be fun, but I don't think he's going to be super good. Gurgo is up next. I'm going to put Gurgo in the B tier. I think Gurgo ain't too bad. Gurgo brings you like an AoE buff strip, which is cool. He can do AoE freeze, which is also pretty cool. I think he's pretty decent, you know? He's pretty damn decent. Yeah, he's definitely not A tier or higher, but I think for the B tier, yeah, I think he's pretty solid. You know, you can build him, use him in Arena. He's going to be pretty good. I feel like he is getting a little bit power crept, you know, champions like Romantu coming in and all that, but we'll see. I think he's still kind of there. Another champion that I'm not 100% sure where to put them is Hegemon, simply because we've got a whole bunch of new sets coming into the game like Stone Skin and stuff, which definitely limit his value. I do think that overall he probably still does deserve the S tier, although again there's a lot more counters to him, like Stone Skin, Mithrala, etc. That make him not as good as perhaps he used to be, but he's still insanely good. Hegemon's whole thing, he gets to attack before anyone else gets a turn. He always goes first, and that makes him just insanely powerful. He can lock out skills, you can put him in a stun set to stun the enemy, you can build him to nuke and he's just going to smack them. Lots of stuff you can do. For 99% of the players, this is a free win in Arena. Basically, it's what it is. He gives you a free win in Arena, which is just nuts. So yeah, I put him there. Next up, we have, there he is, Enithwi. I'm going to be putting Enithwi into the C tier as well. He got buffed recently, so he doesn't do crazy damage. He does good damage. He does solid damage. But the thing that Enithwi brings is he blocks Revive on every single one of his hits, and I think that utility is really useful, actually. So he's not necessarily a champion you'd rush out to build. Like, you might not be replacing your nuker with him, but he is a champion that might be worth building. In fact, maybe he should even be in the B tier. No, there's a champion I want to put in the B tier that is basically Enithwi but better, to be honest. But yeah, no, Anithwi, I do think that he's a good solid champion, to be honest. He's a good solid champion. You might not rush out to build him, but if you don't have a block revive champion, you probably should build him. I think he's very, very good for that. Next up, we have Ethos. Ethos is my most used champion in the game. I'm going to put Ethos into the A tier. He's certainly outscaled, outperformed in arena situations by more modern nukers. He's not super good there, but he's pretty much the best speed farm nuker for really easy content. So even for potion dungeons, Minotaur, and especially for campaign farming, he's just the pinnacle of that. He's super, super good. So for saving you a lot of time doing that easy grinding stuff, Ethos is the guy. Like I said, he's my most used champion by far because he just grinds all of campaign, Nightmare campaign in 7 seconds. No problem. He rips through it all. Solos Minotaur in like 20 seconds. He's an absolute beast. He's really good. Jingwan, buffed recently. I think Jingwan, though, is probably still in the D tier. I haven't heard of anyone doing anything useful with him since his buff. I do stand to be corrected, though. If someone's done something cool, I'd love to see it. But I just don't see what teams he actually goes into, what use he actually has. I just haven't seen it yet, so I'm really not convinced. Coronar is up next, and I actually put Coronar up in the A tier. I think Coronar is actually a great champion. I think he's absolutely fantastic for Hydra. He can Mischief tank, he can consistently lock down the Head of Decay, especially in a taunting set. On top of that, he's actually a really good arena champion. Surprisingly good in arena. He can hit extremely hard, and he can also be super tanky and a real pain to deal with. So I actually think Coronar is super good. I think he's one of the most underrated legendaries in the game. Next up, we've got Constantine. And this is the champion in B tier. I feel like Constantine is kind of, with his recent buff, is kind of just a bit better than Anithwi. He brings the ability to block revive on key factions. So, some key factions, he gets better when Vlad's on the team. But I think he's just really good. He absolutely smacks. He hits really hard. Compared to Anithwi, Constantine genuinely hits really hard. He smacks super, super hard, and he can block revive. So I think he's actually a really, really solid nuker. Again, he's not S tier, even A tier, but for block revive, hard-hitting nuker, he's well worth building. He's a great champ. Krisk is up next, and for me, Krisk, S tier. Really no question. These are all alphabetical as well. We're not ranking them within this stuff. Like Krisk, I'd say is better than Hegemon by a good chunk, but well, not a good chunk, but he's better. But, so we're just going alphabetically here. But yeah, Krisk, what is there to say? Best champion for Hydra in the game. He Mischief tanks. He provides so many debuffs, so many buffs, ally protection, keeps your team alive. He's a monster. Yeah, Krisk is just extremely good. He's really good for any wave content as well. Krisk is just fantastic. Leorius is up next. I am going to squeeze Leorius into the S tier as well. Now, some people might dispute that. I think Leorius is basically Ethos 2.0. He's like Ethos mixed with Skullcrown, but better. So yeah, for arena, I think he's pretty much your best AoE nuker because he protects himself from crowd control. He gives himself unkillable. He's just extremely, extremely powerful. He's really good. So yeah, and he's void as well, so he doesn't weak hit. So I think he's exceptional. Little Miss Annie is up next, and unfortunately, Little Miss Annie is going boom straight into Little Miss D tier. Yeah, she's just really bad. She definitely needs some sort of rework. Like, she's got a whole bunch of passives and stuff to do a little bit of turn meter reduction. She can ignore shields, so maybe with the bolster set she'll be more useful. Or I don't know if she ignores shields, but she gives herself buffs when they've got shields. She does some heal reduction stuff. I don't know, though. The thing is, she has I think pretty much one of the hardest, if not the hardest, single target hit in the game with Playdate. An absolutely monstrous hit. The problem is she does not have an extra turn mechanic like Krutraxa does. And of course, both of these single target nukers, I mean, Rotos really makes them kind of look really bad. And yeah, I feel like Rotos is like the void legendary and Krutraxa is the normal legendary in that relationship, But Little Miss Annie, she doesn't have an extra turn, so that's the real problem. It's like, yes, she can kill one person, but then what? That's really all that she's done for a whole slot. I'm really underwhelmed by her. She's got so many different parts of her kit, but they don't really come together. I definitely think she needs a buff, and then she could be really good because she really does smack. She could be really good then, but at the moment I just don't see a reason to build her. Lydia is up next, and Lydia is going into the S tier. Just incredible champion. AoE decreased defense weaken alongside strength and increased speed. She blocks revive. She can block buffs on a single target. She's insanely good for Hydra, insanely good for some of the Doom Tower bosses, insanely good in arena. Insanely good in speed farming, especially with Seer. Yeah, she's just nuts. She's next level. And actually, her compatriot, partner in crime Mithrala, same faction, and also a free legendary. You just need to play the game for a good while, and you will eventually get them once you've, leveled up enough champions and got enough good champions. You will get these. Mithrala, also insanely good. Absolute goddess in Arena. Just sky-high resistance because of her passive. Cleanses your whole team. Brings Hex now with the Hex buff. With Hex now redistributing damage or duplicating some bonus damage onto other targets with Hex on it. She's actually monstrously good in Hydra. She really ups the damage of your team, which is just super, super powerful. So yeah, I think Mithrala absolutely deserves the S tier. Another S tier champion. We've got a few in a row, I guess. Nekret the Great, really no question, right? He just makes a nuker incredibly difficult to kill, essentially. He opens up so many just insanely terrifying team comps in Arena. I mean, that's part of the reason I guess you might put Leorius a bit of a tier down, is that Leorius doesn't super... I mean, he combos well at Nekret, but Nekret really opens up a bunch of other legendaries to come in and to be your Arena nuker. If Nekret wasn't there, a lot more of these legendaries would be just completely overshadowed by Leorius, but Nekret is busted. He's one of the absolute best on Arena defense, no question. Raglan. This is a funny one. I think Raglan, I put her into B tier. I think Raglan is B tier overall. She's got a nice cleanse with a bit of a heal. She's got an exceptionally good revive. That's the big thing. Her AoE cleanse and heals, I think a 4-turn cooldown, it's quite long. So that's definitely a downside with her. But her revive is exceptionally good. Single target revive on a 2-turn cooldown. Revives them with, I think, full turn meter. It's one of the best revives in the game. That's really cool. I think she's probably best in Hydra. She can also be okay in Arena, though I think the other better Void revivers are better than her overall. But I think she can be really good for Hydra, as bringing you in that clutch revive, bit of turn meter, cleansing. Not a bad option. Speaking of a better revive, I think that Raka is better. I put Raka, I think, overall in the A tier. She's the newest Void legendary, so we haven't seen too much play with her quite yet. This weekend is the first 2x Void event since she came to the game, so I'm sure we'll see a lot more of her after this weekend, and she's possibly going to be a guaranteed Void legendary. She'd be my bet for it. We will see, but I think she's really good. She does a ton of healing, AoE revive, Mithrala style cleanse as well, albeit without the Mithrala passive to ensure she doesn't get controlled. But I think she's going to be exceptionally good. She could be super, super, super powerful in like a stone skin set in Arena. Another very good option for bolster set. She's very good for Hydra as well, but she does throw out a bunch of continuous heals that can mess with mischief targeting. But yeah, I think she's extremely good. Romantu. This is tricky. I think Romantu, he has to go in the S tier, doesn't he? He's just so insane for Arena offense. He is so good. He's the best buff stripper. Strips all the buffs, block passive skills. If they don't have a passive, block active skills. It's just absurdly good. It makes it so much easier to farm Arena. It really does, by just bringing you that ability to lock out what the enemy team is doing. Next up, we've got Riho. She was the previous guaranteed Void legendary. I would give her overall probably a B tier as well. So she comes in and she's going to give you that cleanse, which is really nice. I do think her probably best use is countering things like Hegemon and Arena, though I think Mithrala is better at it. But Riho's really good. She has a passive that protects her from debuffs, so she doesn't need to be built with high resistance. So you can build her with really high speed if you want to. She's also not bad for Hydra, for healing your team, keeping them alive. I think she's a good combo with Kantra, because Riho puts out so many debuffs on her A2 that it enables Kantra to start provoking Head of Decay really quickly. Sifi is up next. Wow, no surprise. Straight into the S tier. Just insanely good. Yeah, she's just insanely good. She's got a nuts passive, does tons of healing, breaks you free from fears and freezes. Good chance to do so. Insane combo with Rotos, makes Rotos just a nightmare. The best single target nuker in Arena by far. Yeah, she's just like the ultimate reviver support. Now her revive is only single target. That is sort of the downside there, but she's super tanky. Yeah, she's probably the best reviver in the Arena, at least on offense. Like on defense, it's a bit of a toss-up between her and Duchess, I suppose. On offense, I think Sifi is a bit better. Yeah, it's just that Sifi Rotos combo is just disgusting. Sir Nicholas is up next. I feel like Sir Nicholas is, for me, C tier. He's like one of the most overrated Void legendaries. I don't know why. I guess like when I started playing the game, people used to hype him up a lot. I know he's the Void legendary and the token trader, but I just don't see why you would ever trade stuff in to get him. I just don't see the point. I think he's C tier. Like, yeah, he does decent damage, but not great. It's pretty poor. Like, You know, it's okay. It's really overhyped, his damage. It's only okay. He does a nice shield. That's cool. Bit of healing unkillable. He's just old. He's just been power crept. Like, he probably was OP when he first came out, but he's just been power crept at this point. He's probably worth building. He's probably okay to have around. You wouldn't entirely throw him in the vault, but I also don't know that you'd ever actually use him at the same time. This one was a bit tricky. I'm going to put Solus, I think, in the A tier. He maybe could be S tier. A lot of people have been using him recently for Hydra because he's got 2 different provokes, 2 different 100% chances to provoke, and he also extends enemy debuffs. So a Solus with accuracy is actually super good for Hydra, and he's a defensive nuker, so he's going to be very tanky as well, very tanky. So maybe he should be S tier. I'm going to be honest, maybe so. He is the best defensive nuker in the game as well for Arena. He's Void as well, no weak hits. So he gives you a very good option for nuking. He absolutely smacks. He can strip buffs, all the rest, and he works well with increased defense. So like he can nuke really well with the Sifi, for example, who doesn't give you increased defense. So stuff like that. Great champion, really good. Tunisia also going to be going up in that A tier as well. AoE stun with HP burn. So she's fantastic for the spider dungeon, lays the burn and stuns the spiderlings, which makes them miss their turn and gives you those really fast speed runs. She's also exceptional for Hydra. She can land HP burn through Poison Cloud, and she's Void, so no fear about weak hits or anything like that. She does good damage. So yeah, she's really, really good. Likewise, I'm going to put Torment up in the A tier. He is fantastic for like Doom Tower hard. He's fantastic in Arena with his passive freezing. His A1 freezes provoke AoE on his A3. Great champion. He can actually smack pretty hard as well if you build him to nuke. So Torment, he's a really, really, really strong champion. He does get kind of countered fairly easily by teams that see what's coming. For, you know, if they see he's on defense, you can definitely counter him. But still, he's very good. Tuhanarak also going to go up in the A tier. She's absolutely fantastic for Hydra, giving that increased speed, increased defense. She's going to be blocking buffs on the enemy team. She's going to be cleansing debuffs off of your team and doing a bit of healing. So she is really good there. Now, she doesn't see too much play elsewhere in the game, at least for now. But yeah, she's one of the best champions for Hydra. So there you go. Turvold, this one is tricky, man. I think Turvold's probably C tier as well. Like, Turvold hits super hard, single target damage, but it's just, once more, not very useful. You know, a single target hit, not super useful. Now, he is good, really good for Demon Lord Clan Boss, so that is some use. But again, there's plenty of other champions that are very good for that. So yeah, it's a little bit awkward there. I think he also can't really work for Hydra because he gives himself so many buffs, he's going to have them stolen. But he does smack insanely hard. So he's a fun champion. You would build him because he's fun. He hits so hard and he looks badass. But yeah, he's not going to be crazy useful. Eurost is up next. Eurost the Soul Cage. I'm going to put Eurost in the B tier. I actually need to rebuild mine. Now I'm using Tomb Lord to solo Scarab Boss. But Eurost, he's a Doom Tower reward champion. And he can solo the Scarab Boss in around about 5 minutes, unbooked, with pretty reasonable gear, which is super helpful. It makes farming Scarab really, really easy, which is great. It gets you through that boss nice and quick and no stress. And then he's got a pretty good toolkit apart from that. I'm definitely intrigued to test him out maybe in other areas of the game now that I don't need to build him just for Scarab. So we will see. I'll return to him. I think he's probably B tier overall. Yeah, certainly for a lot of players, he's going to be the first time you get to actually get through Scarab easily. Then we have Ursaga. Ursaga, I think, is probably an A tier champion, A tier Void Legendary. She's just like super tanky, makes your team super tanky. Tons of ally protection, reducing the damage from crits, all that stuff. Quite nice. I think she could also be decent enough for some Hydra stuff, helping to keep your team alive, for some Doom Tower waves and stuff, keeping your team alive. She's just like the ultimate team protector, basically. The ultimate damage sponge, and she does that job well, so not too bad. Venus is up next. This one was also tricky. I'm going to put her in A. It's tough. She could arguably be an S tier. She's exceptionally good for Hydra, and with with Cupidus now, those two in combination are really, really OP. So Venus arguably should be going up into the S tier. I was a little bit unsure. I'm going to leave her in A just because you do need to have Cupidus as well, which you might not have. And you do kind of need to run them in the team together, which could be a bit awkward. But I don't know, maybe she should be in S tier. You know what? Screw it. Let's put her in S tier just because Cupidus is that strong. Next up, we got Vizix. Vizix, I'm going to put in the B tier. As you guys know, Vizix is one of my favorite champions. She made a massive impact on my account. So it's something to bear in mind with the rankings of these champions, right? Vizix is B tier, but at the time that you get her, 9 months into the game, like these are, you can see how many Void Legendaries I have. Most of these are guaranteed ones. Half of them are. You can see how many I have. Almost 2 years in. So you can imagine 9 months in, you know, when you're not at the point where you're farming all the end game content and getting as many void shards as you can, you're not going to have really any probably void legendaries. You might have Arbiter at that point. That's probably it. Vizix comes in and she's insanely good for your account with that AoE taunt, AoE decrease speed, insanely helpful for progressing for your first time through Doom Tower hard, insanely good against some of those bosses. The faction crypt for Dark Elf, she's insanely good there. She could be super good with just her A1 for Spider when you're progressing on Spider Dungeon. So she's an amazing progression champion. I think overall, in terms of the power level of all these champs, she's probably B tier, maybe even C tier, to be fair. But I'm going to put her in the B tier here. She is a really, really nice champion overall. Next up, we've got Vlad. I'm going to put Vlad probably in the C tier. He's an AoE nuker. He does have some nice turn meter control, stuff like that. But yeah, that's kind of it. You know, he's not really that special compared to other nukers. His biggest thing is, of course, that he is void, which is very helpful. No weak hits, and that does matter. He combos very well with Constantine as well, but it's just very hard. They're both void legendaries. The chance to get both of them is so low that it's kind of awkward, and they're not even that good together anyway. Nice thing about Vlad, he does heal himself with his A1. He throws out Leech, doesn't he, on his A2 with the turn meter steal. So if you do buck him up, I think he's actually really good for soloing Minotaur, for a lot of Doom Tower bosses. He's actually quite solid. So I think he does deserve the C tier, maybe even B tier, but I'm going to leave him in C for now. Next up then, Warlord. We've run out of space. Well, Warlord is going up in the S tier. We'll squeeze him in. You can see the name. It counts. Well, Warlord, he's an S tier champion. Really no surprise. AoE attack that locks out all the enemy skills, put them on full cooldown, potentially even depletes their turn meter. For waves and Doom Tower, I'm sure it's insane, but really it's in arena that, you know, if he gets to go and he lands that move, it basically wins you the fight and there's nothing they can do about it. He's completely nuts. One of the most desired champions in the game. Whirlum Frost King, Battle Pass champion from way back in the day, obviously before I played, don't have him. I think he's D tier though. Yeah, Whirlum, he did get buffed, and I mean, he was used for a little while for Bommel, but I don't think he's really used all that much anymore. Like, I don't know. I feel like his toolkit just doesn't really fit the game. It's not bad. It's weird. I feel like he's not bad. Like, I feel like there's other champions where it's like, yeah, these other champions, like, their toolkits are so wonky. I don't think his toolkit is as wonky. It's just not super useful. Who knows? Maybe in the new dungeon that's coming out, what's it, the Twin Fortress, something like that. Maybe he'll be insane there. We shall see. Yakarl, I actually really like Yakarl. I'm gonna overall put him in A. I'm actually gonna rate Yakarl really high. Is that too high? Maybe that's too high. Maybe, yeah, maybe B tier. Yeah, maybe B tier. Like, he's not gonna be as useful as like Tunisia or Arbiter, and yeah, okay, let's put him in B. I don't know, that's a tricky one. I want to rate him in A. I think Yakarl's super good. When I did the play test on him recently, he really impressed me. He really did. He hits hard. Like, he's not the hardest hitter in the game, but he hits solidly hard. But it's the fact that he has that AoE irresistible freeze. I think that's just super useful in the arena. You can freeze Mithrala, and there's nothing they can do about it. Like, so long as they don't have block debuffs out, he goes in and he freezes champions that have high turn meter, and that's super useful. And then his A2 hits really hard. Yeah, I think he's really good. I think he's really underestimated. I guess we'll leave him in B, but you could maybe move him up into A. Like, I think people really underestimate Yakarl. Yeah, he doesn't hit like Trunda, but guess what? The utility that he brings is actually fantastic. And his single target hit is no joke either. And then we've got Yumiko, the final champion here today. And of course, Yumiko is going to be going into the S tier as well. So there you go. They are all the Void Legendaries. I mean, I would say that really anything in the B tier or above is really solid, and you're going to be happy enough with them. Obviously, the B tier champions are a bit more of a question mark. If you pull them, you'd be like, okay, it's nice to have them. you know, this is kind of like, this should be, in my opinion, this should be like the bottom tier of voids, the sort of quality where it's like, okay, they're pretty decent champions. Maybe I don't know if I'm going to super use them, but they're pretty decent. Then A tier is like, oh yeah, okay, these are really good champions. I can probably find teams for them for sure. And then S tier is like, oh my god, this is insane. You've changed my game. And then C and the D tier are definitely a good chunk weaker. C tier might be really useful for you. Like if you get Sir Nick or Bellinor at the right time for unkillable teams, then yeah, it could be really good. And then D tier are just pretty underwhelming. So there you go. That is what I think. They are my ratings. They are my rankings. What do you guys think? Good luck with the shard pulls this weekend. I hope that you get some of the S tiers. As you can see, I have pulled Krisk in the S tier, and then I got the 3 that you get for free. It's actually really nice. 3 S tier Void Legendaries that you get through just playing the game, guaranteed for free, just with a significant time investment, but you can absolutely get all 3 free to play. That's pretty nuts. That is pretty nuts. So, you know, fair play to them for that. But there you go. They're my rankings. Thank you for watching. I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.